Well, it's 7:41 p.m. and I'm bored and I've got a car to finish. So I think I'm going to try and test fit the central locking system. I've already had a go. I'll walk you through it. Hopefully I don't stuff it up. So central locking is essential in this car of mine. I will not have it without central locking, just like air conditioning. So let's try and get this in and on. Basically, you want to choose, with this kit from Supercheap, you want to choose one of the cables or one of the wires that lead down from your main lock that will move, because you need to install the actuator or the little motor pump unit in line with one of these bars, so that it can actually move the bar as you connect it with the extra little rod that it gives you, and you just clamp it together. So I was wanting to use this main rod, and if I could mount this behind the first sheet metal, it would be perfect, because it'd have a nice long straight edge for the secondary clamp to crimp to hold on to. But the motor unit is about an inch and a little bit thick, and that, imagine it on the other side of this panel, it's going to intrude on the glass that will run down. If it doesn't hit it, it definitely will scrape it. It'll be too close for comfort. So I need to find another spot. I already have done this on the other side, so I know where I'm going to put it. This little wire right there, which I'm going to wiggle and hopefully you can see it. That little wire there that's moving, it goes down about this far and it moves perfectly up and down with the door lock. Straight up and straight down. And I have plenty of room, a flat section that is not being intruded by the window. On the inside of this panel, there's nothing there at all. I can fit my hand down there, where I'm actually going to mount the motor unit. So basically I'm going to mock it up first on the outside so that I know where to drill my two holes. Then I'll actually mount it on the inside, connect my wire. They do give you this here long connecting wire, which is, you know, the bit that you'd use to clamp on. You want to keep this end because that's the piece that actually clips or threads through the little white bit on the end of that. So we're just going to adjust this at the right length once we work out where I've mounted my unit, and I want it to come up to about there on this wire. It's going to give me enough play, and it's not going to be tight or too loose, and it definitely does work with the lock, like a full lock and a full unlock. Sometimes if you install them a little bit too tight together, like I did a few years ago on one of my cars, it was a pain in the rear end. It wouldn't either lock properly or it wouldn't quite unlock properly. So you want it fully locked, fully closed, at full throw, and free. You don't want it to have a lot of pressure on the actual unit down here, because it's going to make noises and it's just going to be a pain in the butt. So let's start mocking it up on the outside of the panel. Alrighty. One thing I need is a new shed. A bigger shed would be great. I'm limited to room in here. I've got about a 700mm gap to walk in and out of both sides of this car to work on it, but you know, I'm getting there. It's a pain in the butt, but I'm getting there. Now, where did I put my little screws? Okay. It comes with a little pack of screws for each door lock. If you buy a dual kit, you're going to get 2 packs. If you buy 4, you will get 4 packs of these. Put the little baggie over there. So this is the locking mechanism you're going to receive to join the 2 the 2 wires together, and they just simply screw tight. Not too tight because you'll strip the threads, but just tight enough to move these wires up and down. But we'll get to that in a second. I'm just going to mock up where I want this to be. Again, you don't want this on too much of an angle, because if that goes up and this is facing this way and that's facing that way, you're not going to get a pure push and a pure pull. So I want it to be nice and low, deep, so it's directly up and down. This wire on the inside of the door does kink off and backwards towards the back of the door on a 45-degree angle. So I've got clearance under here to do that. And also just make sure that the bottom area clears this indentation on the bottom of the door. It goes inwards, so that will hit the inside of this if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. So that's pretty much bingo bango right there. I'm gonna get my Ryobi drill, which I also love so much. And we're going to drill through these two main mount points and straight into the metal, just to give me the two indication marks, and then I'll take it off and actually drill a hole. This just makes sure that it's nice and flush and not all crappy when it's actually inside the door frame. This is a better position to be in. Give myself clearance. Make sure everything's nice and straight. Bit of pressure on that. Hopefully it doesn't move. Just enough to make an indentation. Make sure that hasn't moved from my position. Very good. Awesome. 2 marks. Time to drill. If you've got glass on the other side of this while you're installing it, obviously be careful. That's all we need for the drill. Get a couple of screw pieces, slide the wiring in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these screws into the door frame so they stick out the other side about 4 or 5 mil, and that'll make sure that I actually have it in the right position before I start screwing this down. Or else you're just going to do your head in trying to find the hole. It's never good when you don't find the hole on the first go. Alrighty. The unit back from there. So, minimum visibility. So, gotta be good with your fingers to find the hole. Alright. First one, just going to screw in a little bit more, not all the way, just to make sure it holds the plastic. Now we're going to put the second one in. Excellent. Now they're definitely in place, so I can tighten these up. Not too hard, it is just a plastic mount. The pressure is not this way, like the force being put on the bolt is not left and right, it is up and down, so you don't need to do these up ultra tight. Last thing you want to do is start stripping out the inside of the mount. Whenever screwing screws, bolts, whatever into plastic, you do not need to do them tight, just till they grab, and they'll be good for many, many, many years. That's it. It ain't moving anywhere. Now the fun part is the wire length adjustment. Alrighty, so I want to adjust the wire length I need to join onto my original wire while either the sender unit is in full lock or full unlock position equal to my door. If you If you have this wire all the way down and you have this sender unit all the way up, and then you clamp the two wires together, it's not going to move anywhere. You just stuffed it up. So make sure they're either both down or both up. That way, when it actually moves, it makes sense, right? I don't have to explain that surely. But yeah, let's get this done. I'm going to do it in the full up position because it gives me all access right at the top of this join. So I'm going to manually lift that up. We're going to have a look-see at how much length we're going to need. You generally only have to do it line of sight. There's no major need to have to go and hard install it. I mean, if you want to, you're more than welcome to. But that's about perfect. I did have my Sharpay. If you're a bit worried or you're not too sure, make it longer than what you need. Because if you make it shorter, you've stuffed it. You can always make something shorter. You can make a hole bigger. You can't make it smaller. You can't make the wire longer. So go bigger if you need to, if you're not sure. You can always trim it back. Line of sight. That's going to be pretty much perfect. Right there. Madness. There we go, cut it. Alright, so like I said, I already did one. That's the end result. I don't need it anymore. Find your little red mark. Now normally it would be very easy to cut this with a cutting grinder or something, but because it's nearly 8 o'clock at night, I don't want to annoy the neighbours. I do have my garage door open because it's hot in this place right now. So I'm just going to use a little teeny tiny saw blade. I'm going to cut it. One cut piece of wire. Right, so the kit does come with a nice long piece of wire. Obviously it's a universal kit, so depending on the door you're putting it into, they give you a nice long piece, because you never know where you're going to mount it or where you're going to find the right position on whatever car you have to do so. But on this particular celica, I actually really like that it's a very short piece, because it means a little bit less play, a little bit less sloppiness. It's going to be a fair bit more rigid and firm for when we actually, you don't hear things rattling around as much. I'm just going to loosen these right off. So I'm just going to install the throwing pin, or I don't even know what you want to call it, whatever it is. That goes in like so. Very good. Now I've got that in position, and basically, yeah, we're ready to, I'm just going to make sure that's in its full open position, which it is. Oh, there goes my light. Looks like it's just enough, which is good. Oh. I'm going to slide on our little single grabbery piece. Just roughly at the top is fine now, because you can adjust it very easily in a minute when you need to. It's going to have a little bit hanging out. Now the only thing I had to do, which I may as well do right now before I install it, this little lip has a rolled edge of about 4 mil. That's the only thing that was getting in the way on the other door when I was installing it. So got my trusty pliers. I'm going to cut it first, so it gives me like a nice flat piece. I'm just going to fold that back so it has access for my locks. And I'll show you after I've done it what I've done. So give this a snip. Give this a snip up top. it's also a good idea to go over that with some etch primer or something, just to make sure you don't, have rust coming back in an area you don't want it to later on. I'm just pulling this out of the way, and you will see why soon. Doing this still doesn't intrude on the door card, by the way. It does actually miss the door card still, which is great. But now I have access, more access in there than I did before. A screwdriver again. Now also the double piece of the double bolts on that little pinch piece that you got with the kit, this little bit here, the ones with the two doesn't slide in, it just pushes over the existing wire, because then you wouldn't be able to actually attach it at all. So it just pushes over the wire, clips like that. So right now it is on. Now in my full open position, while that is also open, I'm just going to arrange the screws so I can access them. We're just going to give them a bit of a tighten. Because I'm right-handed, I might have to do this from the top. Probably going to block your view, but I'm sorry. Bit more pressure on them now. Again, not too much, you don't want to strip it. I did pop the wire out of the little plastic holding mechanism at the back, so I'm just going to re-feed that in, which is just a push bit on it. I'll show you. Alright, so again, apologies for the light. My phone is nearly dead, and this is about as good as we're going to get it. So, lock mechanism, on off. If you can see deep in there, that is moving the piece that I attached it to, which is also connected to, you see the white head moving up and down? That's good to go. That's wonderful. So I can actually unlock and unlock by moving that piece, which is great. Quick test. Lock, the door is in its lock mode. Unlock. We can open it as much as we want. Now also, see that little piece of bent metal that I completely destroyed off my door? I'm going to have to recover that with some etch primer or something, because I'm not going to leave it like that and it looks a bit shitty. I might even grind it back out and make it kind of neat, because I don't like the look of that. But I can fix it up in, you know, put it on the list of a million things I have to do to this car. See, the original colour under the door was red at some stage. I say that'll be the original colour. Who knows? Who knows if it's even the same door that it originally came with. So yeah, that is installed, and I know it's close to this here little wire, but it's believe it or not, it's not touching it, which is great. And that's it basically. I'll run the wiring, which I might do tomorrow when I could be bothered, but for now that's part one, I guess we'll call it, because I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Well, not bed, I want to eat something. It's nice and discreet, you can't even tell it's there. Two little screw points. Once that's cleaned up, it'll be even neater. That's installing it. Maybe see you for part two of wiring, which really isn't that hard. It's just a matter of putting the wires you get with the kit through the door, through the hole in the door, through the other hole in the chassis, and then finding a place to mount the actual control box down there, and away you go. One tip though, the kit does come, my one was a 4-door, it came with 4 door locks, 4 automatic door locks, and each one had 2 wires coming off it. Now they are for the passenger, the rear door, and the rear, so both rear doors and the passenger front door. There's a control box we've got to mount somewhere. The one you have to put on your main driver's door is the main control box, which has 4 wires coming off it. Okay, 5 wires coming off it. There you go. Basically, this is going to be the master one. So whatever this one does, the other will follow suit. So if you are not using your key that you get with the kit to unlock the car wirelessly, you will be unlocking the door with the car key, which will turn the actual little motor here, and that motor will then send a signal through those other extra wires to the control box, then telling the box to open up all the other doors in the car. So make sure that this one with all the multiple wires is on your main door. That's really about it. I'm off. Maybe part 2 later.